Hi everyone, today we're going to look at the second chapter, which is on circulatory system. However, before we look at the content in detail, we shall look at what is the focus of this chapter. The focus of this chapter will be on open and closed circulatory system, comparison of circulatory circuits in vertebrate, mammalians or mammal circulations, which we will focus on the transport in human. We will look at the human heart, different types of blood vessels, what is the pulmonary and what is the systemic circuit. From animals, we will move on to circulatory system that is present in plants, where we will look at or focus on the plant transport system, water and mineral uptake by xylem and phloem. Xylems are tissue that is responsible for transporting water and minerals, while phloem is the tissue in plants that is responsible for uptaking and transporting sugar through a process which we call it as translocation. In general, there are two different types of circulatory system in animals. The first is the open circulatory system and the second is the closed circulatory system. In open circulatory system, the blood is not confined in the blood vessels, while for closed circulatory system, the blood is confined in the blood vessels. Closed circulatory system in animal could be divided or could be further divided into two. The first is single circulatory system and the second is double circulatory system. The key difference between single and double circulation is that in single circulation, blood travels once through the heart during a complete cycle, while in double circulation, blood flows twice through the heart during a complete cycle. The heart and lung plays an important role in circulation. For double circulatory system, there are two types. The first we call it as incomplete or incomplete double circulatory system. The second is called complete double circulatory system. In incomplete double circulation, the blood comes to the heart through two different routes, but goes out through a single route. But for complete double circulation, there are two separate pathways for oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Example of open circulatory system is the trachea system that could be found in most of the insects. Insects have tracheal respiratory system in which oxygen and carbon dioxide travel primarily through air-filled sacs or tubes, which we call it as the trachea. Usually, tracheal system penetrates through cuticle, through closable valve called spiracles, and ends near or within the tissue in tiny tubes, which we call it as the tracheole. The tracheal system of insects do not have blood. To compensate blood, the tracheal respiratory system in insects is having a fluid called hemolymph. However, hemolymph does not transport respiratory gases such as oxygen and carbon dioxide. The primary function of hemolymph is to carry digested food substances and hormones into the cell as well as waste product out from the cell. Now let us look at the circulatory system in an insect. Now let us look at a short animation regarding circulatory system.
The roles of the circulatory system are to transport essential metabolites from the fat body to the cells, carry waste to the excretory system, and provide immunity to harmful organisms. Insects have a simple, open circulatory system. The circulatory system consists of a dorsal vessel running the length of the body. The dorsal vessel is divided into a posterior heart that contains intake valves called ostia and an anterior aorta. The open space of the body is called the hemocoel. The hemocoel is filled with insect blood called hemolymph. Since insect hemolymph does not transport oxygen, it does not contain hemoglobin, and therefore lacks the red color that is characteristic of blood from vertebrate animals. Hemolymph is pumped forward by the heart through the aorta into the head and flows back through the body in the open hemocoel. Hemolymph re-enters the posterior heart through the ostial valves, and the cycle repeats. The hemocoel is always full of hemolymph, and the heart ensures its mixing. Auxiliary pulsatile hearts at the base of the antennae, legs, and wings pump hemolymph into those appendages.
Now let us look at closed circulatory system on single circulatory or single loop. In fish, once the blood leaves the gill capillaries, it travels directly to the rest of the body before traveling back to the heart. This is called single circulation. A single circulatory system is a simple loop in which blood flows from heart to the gills and throughout the body and back to the heart again. Now we try to look at incomplete double circulatory system. In most amphibians who have a three-chamber heart, two atria, and one ventricle, the mixing oxygenated and deoxygenated blood is kept to a minimum due to the timing of the contraction between the atria. This is called an incomplete double circulatory system. What is complete double circulatory system or circulatory pathway? In incomplete double circulatory pathway or system, the blood comes into the right atrium from the body, moves into the right ventricle, and it is pushed into the pulmonary arteries in the lung. After picking up oxygen, the blood travels back to the heart through the pulmonary vein, into the left atrium, to the left ventricle, and out to the body's tissue through the aorta. In other words, the blood actually travels into the heart twice to complete a circulation. Human is having closed, complete circulatory system in the body. Now we try to look at another important structure in the cardiovascular system, which is the human heart. The heart consists of several layers of tough muscular balls, which we call it as the myocardium. A thin layer of tissue, the pericardium, covers the outside, and another layer, the endocardium, lies inside. The heart cavity is divided down the middle into the right and left heart, which in turn are subdivided into two chambers. These chambers are called atrium and ventricle. In human heart, there are two atria and two ventricles. In between the chamber of atrium and ventricle, there is a structure which we call it as the valve. In general, there are four main functions of the heart, and they are: first, pumping oxygenated blood to the other parts of the body. Second, pumping hormones and other vital substances to different parts of the body. Third, receiving the oxygenated blood and carrying metabolic waste from the body and pumping it to the lungs for oxygenation. And fourth, maintaining blood pressure. Now we shall move our attention to the different types of blood vessels. There are three kinds of blood vessels, which we call it as the arteries, veins, and capillaries. Each of these plays a very specific role in the circulation process. Arteries carry oxygenated blood away from the heart. They are tough on outside, but they contain a smooth interior layer of epithelial cells that allows blood to flow easily. Arteries also contain a strong muscular middle layer that helps pump blood through the body. Capillaries connect the arteries to the vein. The arteries deliver the oxygen-rich blood to the capillaries, where the actual exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide occurs. The capillaries then deliver the waste-rich blood to the vein for transport back to the lungs and the heart. The third type of blood vessels is the vein. The vein carries the blood back to the heart. They are similar to arteries, but not as strong or as thick. Unlike arteries, veins contain valve that ensures blood flows only in one direction. Arteries don't require valve because pressure from the heart is so strong that the blood is only able to flow in one direction. Valves also help blood travel back to the heart against the force of gravity. Now we shall move on to the description on systemic and pulmonary circuit. Pulmonary circulation moves blood between the heart and the lungs. It transports the oxygenated blood to the lungs to absorb oxygen and release carbon dioxide. The oxygenated blood then flows back to the heart. Systemic circulation, on the other hand, moves blood between the heart and to the rest of the body. Now we shall move on to the discussion on plant transport system. Plants have two transport systems, xylem and phloem. Xylem transport water and minerals, while phloem transport sugar and amino acids, which are dissolved in water. The xylem transport water and minerals from the root up to the plant stem and into the leaf. In a mature flowering plant or tree, most of the cells that make up the xylem are specialized cells called vessels. Vessels lose their end wall, so the xylem forms a continuous hollow tube. This allows water to flow easily. Vessels become strengthened by a chemical called lignin. The cells are no longer alive, and lignin gives strength and support to the vessels. Phloem moves sugar that the plant has produced by photosynthesis to where it is needed for processes such as growing parts of the plant for immediate use, storage organs such as bulbs and tubers, transport to developing seeds, and requirements for respiration. Transport in phloem is therefore both up and down the stems. Transport of substances in the phloem is called translocation. Unlike xylem, phloem consists of living cells. The cells that make up the xylem is called the sieve tubes. Sieve tubes are specialized for transport and they have no nuclei. Each sieve tube has a perforated end so that its cytoplasm connects one cell to the next. In each sieve tube it is connected to companion cells. The function of companion cells is to transport of substances in the phloem requires energy. One or more companion cells are attached to each sieve tube to provide this energy. A sieve tube is completely dependent on its companion cells.